Good evening, everybody. This is Casey Reginald Jr.
It's man J. Dub, Justin Water in the building.
This is Jay Swish, Joe Swisher in the house.
Welcome to UnderDawg Sportz. Welcome to the show, everybody. And as we begin today, we begin this day mourning the loss of the greatest, the most winning coach in NFL history, Don Shula.
Indeed, Mr. Don Shula, the only coach in NFL history, for the record, that has an undefeated season, regular and playoffs, with the Super Bowl championship, and that still has not been done for almost 50 years now. My coaching tree, if you're going by NFL Mount Rushmore, he is definitely on that list, along with, I hate to put Bill Belichick there because it was
You can't hate it, bro. It's the truth.
Yeah, you got to. So him, Chuck Noll with the Steelers, Bill Walsh, and, of course, the man where the trophy's named after, Vince Lombardi.
Joe?
Yeah, tough loss. I mean, 90 years old, that's a, long life, and one of the most successful coaches, obviously. As far as my Mount Rushmore, I put Shula there. I have Lombardi. I have Belichick. And I'll probably go Tom Landry over Chuck Noll.
Whoa.
I'm good with that.
All righty.
You got more rings, though. But I'm good with that.
That's true.
So, Don Shula, quite honestly, is the winningest coach in football history. He coached the Miami Dolphins to an undefeated season. As Justin said, truly the only undefeated season in football history, and that's over 100 years in playing this game. It was something special about him. I can't believe the dude started coaching in the league in like the 60s, and he was still coaching when I was growing up. That tells you enough right there. Being a coach through that many generations of players and able to win throughout, able to relate throughout, that tells you the kind of guy Don Shula was. The league is not better off with his loss, but we are better off for having watched him coach. A lot of coaches owe their livelihoods to this guy. As far as the Mount Rushmore, I like Joe's Mount Rushmore a whole lot. I'm sorry, J-Dub. I'm with Joe this time. But rest in peace to Coach Shula.
Not putting a cowboy on my Mount Rushmore.
Of course you're not. Of course you're not. But
no, sir.
I said, rest in peace, Coach Shula. You definitely have a legacy that is going to be remembered throughout generations to come.
It's just amazing, though, after all these years, and the Patriots were just so close to going perfection, and the Giants had something to say about that. So it's hard to say. I don't know if we'll ever even see an undefeated team ever again. Honestly, the Patriots are so close, but who knows?
It's just too much talent in football to see.
I don't see it.
Yeah,
that's going to be the hardest thing. The way the talent's been going, I don't ever see that happen.
It's just way too much talent. Way too much talent. I don't see it happening again. I think that Patriots team was the closest thing we'll ever see to that again.
Right.
That and hold on real quick. That and the fact is NFL teams do load management on week 16 and 17 if you really think about it. I'm just saying.
They do. Especially, but now it's only one bye. So if there's ever been motivation for a team to try to go 16-0 with only being one bye, I think that time is now. In other news, moving on football really quickly, the Houston Rockets, Portland Trail Blazers, and Denver Nuggets will be reopening their facilities on Friday. Is basketball coming back?
I would say this is the start. they can it'll actually be easier for basketball to go ahead and have a game plan of playing without fans than football and baseball, just because the amount of players that need to be around, available, and on the court. I hope so, because the NBA, the players want to finish the season. Unlike football, baseball, hockey, when we're talking about it, but hockey and basketball realistically were the ones that wanted to finish the season because they were almost to the playoffs for both of them. So a lot of those guys, specifically LeBron's been overly adamant about trying to finish the season. So I hope this is the start of something.
Yeah, just as a sports fan, I hope they come back. Literally like this last week, all I've been doing, I've been on YouTube. I've been watching old NBA games. I watched the Bulls Pistons, all four of those games from 1991, and I watched the Pistons Celtics game from '87. I watched the Spurs game, so I kind of want to see some fresh games again. I guess it's just amazing how much we take this stuff for granted. How much we take it for granted when it goes away. But it's hopeful. Since you mentioned these facilities about to open back up.
Yeah, I think it's great news that these facilities are opening up, at least for having some type of competitive sport going, to hopefully get our minds off of the everyday situation that we deal with. However, I want this season to be. I'm mad the season stopped when it did. There were so many stories left to be told about this basketball season. I don't think there's any way possible that they can try to just resume the season where they left off. They're going to have to agree to some sort of schedule arrangement to finish this season. I really hate that the season was just stopped this way. It was teams still coming together. There was still a story to be told. So I definitely believe that if we do get back to basketball, you have to put an asterisk at this season if we crown a champion.
Totally agree with that one. I think it's time.
All righty. So just wanted to throw that basketball story in there before we dive deep into football. I couldn't let that be the headline with Don Shula's passing, however. I think something that Justin wanted to talk about in our headlines is the 2017 draft class is up for option years, and half of the first-round players' options were declined. 4 of the first 5 picks in that draft options were declined. For all the talent that's in that draft, that the names that came out of that draft, is this draft class a bust?
I'll be honest with you. I hate to say it, but it's looking like that. Although you do have Patrick Mahomes, you have Deshaun Watson, you have P.J. Watt, so you have a MVP, runner-up defensive player of the year, and then Myles Garrett, who's a stud with himself. Not to mention Christian McCaffrey, but then look at the top 5. You have Myles Garrett, Mitchell Trubisky, not getting an extension.
Just call it bust.
Not getting an extension.
Bust.
Right. Fournette, same thing. Corey Davis, same thing.
You got to get all the way to Jamal Adams to get another extension after the first overall pick in that draft.
Right. And then you have to really look at it. If you do a breakdown, out of even the Pro Bowlers, only 4 Pro Bowlers right now got extensions, and that's Mahomes, Deshaun, T.J. Watt, and Marlon Humphrey. Not even Jamal Adams got an extension yet. Not even Marshawn Lattimore, all-world cornerback from New Orleans, got an extension yet. So this is really, really interesting to see this draft class. I'm sorry, there is one more. Tre'Davious White did get an extension with Buffalo. I'm sorry, so 5. If you look at it, it's a bust draft outside of the 5 players that we named, realistically speaking.
Joe?
Well, I mean, is that really fair? I because I feel like there's busts in every draft. So I mean, I don't. You you're gonna find many busts in every draft. So I mean, I don't know if it's fair to call this class single-handedly a bust, you know.
But the real thing is what I'm saying, a bust is because unlike other drafts, these guys still got a fifth year to decide whether they are good or not. These guys are all be free agents that didn't get picked. I mean, think about it. Out of your first 10 draft picks, 6 of them will be free agents next year, like it or not. And that's why I was saying, I was like, wow, that's a hefty number for for a class that's, like I said, not even out of year 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm with Justin. Like, you can't call the draft a bust when the draft has an MVP and a Super Bowl champion in the first 3 years. So I don't know that you can call it a bust. But I will say that when 4 out of the top 5 picks in your draft class do not get their options, that tells you, that's very alarming. That's almost insane. The Bears swung high and missed on Mitchell Trubisky. Solomon Thomas with the 49ers. These are top 5 picks. These are guys that, at the very least, should be good football players. And 4 of them are going to be free agents next year. We'll move on. As the NFL is set to release the schedule tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We got some teams with some pretty easy schedules, and we got some teams with some very tough schedules.
At Amazon, we're pretty good at getting things done.
An interesting year.
We're pretty good at solving problems. COVID-19 is the biggest challenge we've had to face. The challenges are what motivate us.
We are running
Like
out
flying masks.
Everybody knew who they got their opponents a while ago. So when they were making this big deal, like ESPN's making a big deal, like the schedule's coming out, and they did this last year too, and I'm like, okay. I mean, now you tell us what date they're playing on, but the schedule, we all knew who's playing who. I can actually sit there and say we went from one of the hardest schedules last year to now one of the easiest schedules this year as far as Pittsburgh is concerned in the AFC North. You guys in Kansas City's in the middle, and so are the Texans. But it'll be interesting to match us of when they're going to play. What I want to see is who's the primetime games. Because last year they had a huge amount of bust on primetime games. Especially, I don't know why the NFL always likes to have Jets on primetime. Doesn't make sense.
They're a New York team.
Because they're in New York.
Yeah, it's a New York team. You should know that.
I get it, but
and they have an insane fan base in New York.
New York fans don't like New York teams. That's the bad thing.
They like
the
Jets.
New York fans, they like the Giants. They don't like the Jets. If you know New York people, New York fans are Giants, Yankees, Knicks, not the X, not the Mets, the Jets, or the Knicks.
They seem to like the Mets a lot when they made it to the World Series a couple years ago.
Yeah, true. I was just like, I just want to see what the primetime matchups are. That's what's going to be interesting to me.
Yeah, it's always going to be the highlight of any schedule release. It's who's the primetime matchups are going to be. We know who plays who. I think it's going to be one hell of a football season. Is Patrick Mahomes is going to take a tour against the 2 best quarterbacks in NFL history this year. He's going to play both the Buccaneers and the Saints.
Actually, so yeah.
This is going to be a great year of football if we get to have it. But if we do get to have it, oh God, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, the Thanksgiving game. Well, obviously we know the Lions and the Cowboys are going to play on Thanksgiving, but I'm always interested to see who's gets play on Thanksgiving because, that's to some that's an honor to play on Thanksgiving. That's because the whole country's watching you on that day. So
yeah,
can I say this though?
Can we remove the Lions?
I was just about to say, can we take Detroit off of it? Because it just seems like Detroit, even if they win the game, it's still like Detroit's in. Like, the only reason why I like the Thanksgiving games more recently with Detroit is because of Megatron. Once Megatron was gone, I was like, all right, I'll deal with the Cowboys just because the Cowboys fans are obnoxious. But for the most part, but Detroit fans, well, they ain't really got much to say. They win a game. They win a Turkey Bowl is like them winning the Super Bowl.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like they're, nobody wants to watch them. And I am intrigued by their running back that they drafted, but nobody wants to watch that team. Matt Stafford is awful. He's Phillip Rivers of the NFC, period. So I hope they remove them. They won't. It's a tradition thing. Other than that,
folks been asking for that for like 20 years to take the Lions off, and it still ain't happened. So
other than that, I think I just want to know who the Chiefs are going to play for the Thursday night opener. I've been hearing all kind of rumors that they could be moved to Monday night. It's the Super Bowl champions tradition to play on Thursday night, right?
No.
Yeah, it is.
The
Patriots.
But that's what they're saying. They were talking about it last year to move them because the ratings aren't as high on Thursday night compared to having it on Sunday night.
But I think they're
going to try to do it for Sunday night.
But that's crazy though.
Either.
If you're trying to get ratings, why not have the league's most popular player open the season up? Like that's the best chance.
The most popular player?
He's selling the most merchandise right now. Those facts.
Jersey sales?
Merchandise. He's selling the most merchandise right now, surpassing Tom Brady.
Like, nah.
It's not a nah. That's what happened.
That TB jersey and so Saquon Barkley's jersey. That's what
the number one selling jersey is Patrick Mahomes right now.
He's up there.
He's the number one selling jersey in the league. It's not my numbers. Those are the actual numbers.
But regardless of that, I think they should just go to Sunday. It's easier for people because people are home to watch the game. That's why I didn't understand why they did Thursday. Thursday was a Fox push. NFL
the reason you do it is you steal the ratings for 2 days out of the week. If you have the most popular team or the Super Bowl champion playing, you open up the season there, and then you can play that. Hell, they play 2 games on that first Monday night because they stolen the momentum with that Thursday game. Moving on, in other news, in Seattle, there is negotiations or talks between Marshawn Lynch and the Seattle Seahawks to return for yet another season. Why?
He's going to go in as a mentor to Penny and Carson and CJ Proce if they keep him. I don't think they're going up there for him to be beast mode because they know beast mode days is over. He even said himself that if they choose me, cool. If they don't, then I'm not going to sweat it. That was his terms. So I think as a mentor or something like that, I mean, we've seen that in the past with teams picking up older players to go ahead and coach the younger ones. And I think that's what it really is. We know Marshawn's 1,000-yard, 1,500-yard days are long gone. But if he can help out the younger guys, then why not?
I mean, why not make him a coach and not as a running back?
Well, maybe they don't want him as a coach.
I mean, you pay a running back a hell of a lot more than you do most running back coaches. I'm just saying, like, why not make him a coach and bring him back that way if you just want him to be a mentor or an instructor? I don't see you getting any productivity.
Maybe he can spot a couple of plays. You obviously not every down back.
Exactly. He's also in insurance policy too.
Mm-hmm. Right.
What's the insurance for?
Did you see what happened to the running backs last year?
And I'm just saying, when he played, it wasn't exactly like he was doing
He had one solid game, and then the playoff game, they bust. I get it. Not to mention the other factor is you said it last on the podcast last week when you were talking about people in the community. Living in Seattle for 2 years, now, although I wasn't there during the Marshawn years, I know a lot of people. I got a lot of friends up there in SEA where Marshawn is huge in the community. And I think that's one of the things, if you can get him as a mentor and someone in the community, why not? You're not paying him shit. He doesn't even want shit. My man is still, he's like Shaq. He's still on his rookie contract as far as money is concerned. All the Skittles endorsements, Nike, his own clothing line, he ain't spent none of that money yet. So why not? We, again, like you stressed out before, and a lot of people talked about before, it's not our money to go ahead and negotiate. So if Seattle want to give him $1 million for a year, go for it. I mean, if they give him 10, then it's stupid. But if it's 1, hey, why not?
Yeah, I mean, as long as he's a good locker room presence, I guess it's worth it. You don't expect to get a lot out of him on the field. I don't know. I guess it's a good move for them PR-wise and in the community. But if it happens, it happens. I still don't think Seattle's a Super Bowl threat next year with or without him. So
why not? I'm trying to figure out why wouldn't you say they're a Super Bowl threat?
I don't. There's better teams than Seattle in the NFC in their own division. So, no, I don't see them. San Francisco, number 1, is better than Seattle.
San Francisco got to still figure it out.
Depending.
Garoppolo's situation.
How they still got to figure it out? They're in the Super Bowl, for God's sakes.
They went on Super Bowl by San Francisco, the equivalent of the Baltimore Ravens, a couple back in the 2000s. They won on their defense.
Okay, but they were in the Super Bowl, for God's sakes. And Jimmy Garoppolo is still improving as a quarterback.
So basically, everybody got to die down because.
Why they got to die down?
They went to the Super Bowl.
Ain't nobody dying down, but who's a better team than them? Seattle isn't.
No. I still think Seattle was a better team. They just had too many hurt players.
I think you got a crush on Russell Wilson. I think you got a football crush on Russell Wilson. That's what I think.
Boy, it's all about the real stats because the fact of the matter is they had no running backs because they were all hurt. 2 of their top receivers was hurt. Their tight end was hurt. Dwayne Brown, their best lineman, was hurt.
Who's their tight end?
They had a hurt squad. They had no tight end because they had to trade them out. The other tight end they had was, what's the boy's name? He was solid, but, I mean, if you want to compare to Kelsey, he's not a Kelsey, but he was a solid blocker.
Or Kittle.
And that's how.
Who's there in that division? Or Kittle.
Okay, so you're going again and saying that only one team is going to be good.
I'm not saying only one team. I said in their own division. They still got Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Oh, by the way, Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. I don't think Seattle's the best team in the NFC.
The second round. So I'm just saying.
I don't think they're the best team in the NFC. Let's move on to Dallas signing Andy Dalton this week. Andy Dalton has a job. Cam Newton does not. This is an insurance policy for Dak holding out, you think?
Joe.
Yeah, I guess so. You know, it's nothing wrong with having a high-end backup. I still think the Prescott and the Cowboys are going to get something done. But yeah, this is a decent insurance policy to have. I'm kind of like you. I'm surprised maybe they didn't go to Cam Newton, but again, you know, I think like we've read and seen already, Cam Newton wants to start, and you know, if you look at the Cowboys, we know he's not going to start for them. So. Yeah, I think this is a decent pickup for the Cowboys, just in case things go south between the Prescott and the Cowboys.
I think it's a 1 year, $1 million deal. So the Cowboys ain't losing nothing. Dak gets hurt, they can put Andy in. Andy is a system quarterback at best. So I don't see them really losing out on anything. If they paid him like $5 million, then I would question it. But a $1 million deal. And as far as the insurance policy for Dak, if Dak does hold out at any stretch of the point and they need a solid 4 or 5 games that they could possibly win depending on how their season is stretched out, especially with their division, which anything goes, Andy can go ahead and win some games. So I think it's actually a pretty good move. I was surprised that he went to Dallas compared to the rumor was he was supposed to come to the Texans. Because the Texans don't have a backup right now. A.J. McCarron's a free agent, so I thought he was going to come down here, especially he's from Katy. But, okay, he went to Dallas. He went to a Texas team, just not the one I expected.
Yeah, I don't know how much I like him as a backup to Dak, but your point being the 1 year contract, they don't have a quarterback on the roster for longer than 1 year right now. Even Dak is under a franchise tag. I think he's serviceable if Dak holds out, if Dak trips a little. I think he's had good years when AJ Green was healthy. Dallas drafted well to put more talent on offense. So with enough talent, any quarterback is serviceable. And I think there's plenty of talent in Dallas that Andy Dalton moving there. And if Dak Prescott tries to play hardball, they got themselves still the NFC East because it's not saying much. I really think that's it. They still own the NFC East, even with this guy, because that division is so down.
Yeah, I agree with you with that one. Mm-hmm.
All right, fellas, tell me, who is the top running back in the NFL right now?
Oh, to me, Zeke. No, I'm sorry. Take that back. Christian McCaffrey, because he's the only do-it-all back in the NFL. Catching, receiving, or catching, rushing. Hell, if they wanted to, he can take it back to his college days. He was a hell of a punt returner and kick returner, but that'd be putting too much on him. Right now, he's probably the best. Then I would say Zeke. Yeah, I would say those two are the best right now in the NFL.
Joe, who you got?
Repeat that question one more time. I saw one now, man.
Who's the top running back in the NFL?
Either Zeke and McCaffrey.
Who over McCaffrey?
You got Nick Chubb. You got Derrick Henry. I mean, you got options. Who do you got as the top running back in the NFL? Yeah, Nick Chubb, second leading rusher in the league last year.
Yeah, I forgot about him.
Yeah.
I wish they would say him though.
Well, I probably I'd go McCaffrey. All around. I probably go McCaffrey. It's not no dig at Zeke or the other guys, but McCaffrey can pretty much do just about everything. It seems like so. I'd probably go McCaffrey right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's going to be unanimous. Availability is always number one. He does not miss games, and it's really crazy the amount of times he touches the ball and he's still available. He's a 1,000-yard rusher. He's a 1,000-yard receiver. He is truly an all-purpose back. I don't think it's relatively close, although I liked what Nick Chubb did last year. He started coming into his own. He showed that that's his team in Cleveland, with the presence of Kareem Hunt maybe motivating him to get off his ass a little. Not sure. But, yeah, Christian McCaffrey is probably hands down the highest rated running back in the National Football League right now.
I mean, Derrick Henry, I think, can be on his way, though. I think he's on his way to being up there.
He's a good runner.
You think he's physical? Maybe the physical might be too physical might affect him later down the line, because I mean he's a big back, obviously.
Yeah, he's a good runner.
I think the thing is with Derrick Henry is he doesn't catch in the backfield, so it takes away from one your offense being more diverse when it comes to him, because pretty much it's Derrick Henry shove it down the throat, keep it going. Now, although that's worked in the past, because that was the NFL back in the 90s, and most of the years in the NFL up until probably the last 10. Shove it down their throat so they can't breathe no more. But that's the thing with Derrick Henry that separates him from the elite of elite, because he's not as versatile he's not as versatile like his counterparts. Even Zeke can catch out of the backfield every blue moon. But Derrick Henry, I don't think he probably had over 200 yards as a high receiving coming out of the backfield.
Yeah, right. He's a one-dimensional guy. When he's in the game, they're either going to hand him the ball or play action passing. That's pretty much it. So you got to say Christian McCaffrey. Like, I respect Derrick Henry for what he is. He's a true running back. He's not the multi-dimensional back. He's a true running back. He's had some injury problems too. I think last year he played more games than he did in his entire rookie deal. So he's had some injury problems, but McCaffrey's available. McCaffrey's just simply the most multi-dimensional back in football. Yeah, I don't think it's relatively close. Like, he's kind of by himself right now until somebody else can prove those receiving skills as well. Let's move on to the top receiver in the National Football League. This one is a loaded question. You got the likes of Michael Thomas, Julio Jones, DeAndre Hopkins, and Odell Beckham Jr. Those are some pretty solid guys. Joe, who do you think is the top receiver in the National Football League?
Yeah, it's the guy the Texans traded away to get David Johnson. I think it's DeAndre Hopkins. I'd probably take him, and I'd say Michael Thomas probably right after him. But I would probably take DeAndre Hopkins right now. That is just it's just phenomenal. You know, his hands, speed, everything. He's really the total package. It's still just mind blowing that he's in Arizona and not here in Houston anymore.
I'm actually going to go ride with Joel on this one. I do think it's by a very slim margin, D-Hop. But Michael Thomas, and there's one you didn't mention, KC, with Mike Evans down there at Tampa, which I think he's going to be the next one.
If he's ever healthy for a full season.
Yeah, because those two, to me, it's D-Hop, Mike Thomas, and then Evan. And like I said, it's by a thin margin because I do think right now the way D-Hop did in the playoffs was impressive. I've never seen a wide receiver, I have, not going back to probably the Randy Moss days in Megatron, take over a playoff game like that to save the team's ass. So I'm going to give a little bit to D-Hop right now. And it's sad that the Texans got nothing for him, really.
I mean, it's sad for the Texans, but if I'm the Cardinals, like, the Cardinals have to be a sleeper out of the West in the NFC too. They've really that move was awesome. As far as the best receiver, I am the minority. I believe it's Michael Thomas. This young man is just phenomenal at everything he does on the football field. It's a reason Drew Brees just keeps on playing and keeps on selling along, Pro Bowl after Pro Bowl. Like, he hasn't had a tight end since, like, the first time they got rid of the basketball player. Michael Thomas.
Jimmy Graham.
Yeah, Michael Thomas is it. And I'm sorry, like, he is it. I respect everything DeAndre Hopkins did with the Texans. I do. I think you're right as far as his hands, his body control. He's pretty much poetry in motion. But Michael Thomas, like, nah, I got to go Mike Thomas. That's just who, yeah. I think whoever inherits the Saints offense when Drew Brees retires, they're inheriting a jewel in Michael Thomas.
Yeah, I agree with you with that. That's pretty straight on that one.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. We're going to get to the pretty boy picks now. Who's the best quarterback in the National Football League? Everybody knows I'm biased on this one, but this is you're talking about a loaded question. You got two of the greatest statistical quarterbacks in the history of this game. One is actually called the GOAT. So he's basically the walking, talking, living GOAT right now. You got Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, and then you got the young guns like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, hell, even throw in Deshaun Watson. Who's the best quarterback, Justin?
The one you didn't name, Russell Wilson. If you give Russell Wilson more offensive weapons, right now he has Metcalf and the rest of the Backstreet Boys. I don't know why them cats always want to be a synchronized dance. But I love Patrick Mahomes. I have him a very close second. This is almost the same question like last time with the receivers. But Russ just does more with less right now. He doesn't have a surefire tight end. He doesn't have surefire receivers, to be honest with you. Lockett is great. Lockett is good, but he's not consistent. DK Metcalf's only on his second year. He's not consistent. They running situations were damn sure not consistent. And still, this guy built them to 10-6. that's why I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say Russell Wilson out of all the other guys. Like, again, Pat is a close second, but I'm going with the guy in Seattle. Who you got, Joe?
Yeah, I got to take Mahomes right now, and I guess, this is just my personal opinion. I think what's scary is I still think we use the best of Mahomes. I mean, I know people maybe going to try to start figuring out, but I still think he can be even greater. I mean, it's awesome watching him play. I mean, some of these throws he makes, he can get a little speed and scramble too, but we saw him win the Super Bowl this past year, but there's obviously ways he can improve, and I don't think we've seen it yet. So I think the best is still yet to come from Mahomes. So I would probably take him as the best quarterback right now, Patrick Mahomes.
I find it amazing that both of you guys picked two guys, and neither one of you mentioned the two greatest quarterbacks to ever play football. Justin didn't even mention Lamar Jackson. I will tell you, I like Russell Wilson. It's still one throw he made last year rolling left that I have never seen a quarterback make ever. It's like the most incredible throw that I've ever seen on the football field, and I don't think it got nearly as much attention that it should have. The catch on the other end, the catch was awesome, but that throw in that spot, but he's not the best quarterback in the National Football League right now.
I'm about to say, you argue that Lamar Jackson wasn't that great at all. So I was wondering, I was like, I know he's not going to say Lamar.
No, I'm not saying Lamar. Hell no. Like, he's not. Anyway, I was surprised you didn't say Lamar Jackson, okay?
He's not a complete quarterback.
Okay.
He's good. He's not great.
I love Russell Wilson. I'm not going to penalize a player because he's got talent around him, though. I'm not going to do that. I look at these two quarterbacks. They are very, very similar quarterbacks. They both got great arm strength. They both are former baseball players. They both got excellent body control. But the young gun he set this league on fire in a way that we haven't seen in a long time. He's having early success in his career that I don't know that we've ever seen in a quarterback. Yeah. To me, it's Mahomes. Obviously, I don't think we can say it's Aaron Rodgers. I won't say he's on the twilight of his career, but he's just not that guy anymore, at least unless he can stay healthy and become reliable. And maybe if he gets enough talent around him, he can show us that he's still got it. Tom Brady is a game manager at this point in his career. Lamar Jackson is an explosive game manager because he can run the football. I love Russell Wilson, but to me, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the National Football League.
I agree.
All righty. The best offense in the National Football League. This one is a loaded question. It's a lot to dissect. We've got to add Tom Brady to the Buccaneers, and then you throw him, Mike Evans, and Godwin, then bring back Gronk out of retirement. They drafted a running back. With Tom Brady's efficiency, do you think they have potential to be the number one offense in the National Football League, or is he too conservative at this stage in his career?
They have the number one passing offense. I want to see how they run the ball. It's still all about clock management at times. That's probably one of the biggest factors. So I really want to see how that manages. Because right now, if I'm going most number one offense, which means most balanced team, I probably will sit there and take my neck out to a team that didn't even make the playoffs and say Dallas. And, I mean, I don't want to say it, but they technically have the most balanced squad. What killed them is their defense was terrible. But they have a quarterback that doesn't make mistakes. They have a hell of a running back. Now they have two dynamic receivers versus just one. They have an okay tight end. and they have a great line. If they could put that and get their defense together, Dallas could be a contender. But it's Dallas, so they don't. They're like, for whatever reason, they just don't get together. But I would say their most dynamic offense is right now, it's the Dallas Cowboys.
So with Amari Cooper is their number one receiver, and Dak Prescott is their quarterback, you think they are the strongest offense in the National Football League? Who you got?
Because they're the most balanced.
Who you got, Joe?
I think the Saints should be in the conversation. You got Drew Brees, obviously, with what he puts up. Michael Thomas, got Alvin Kamara. They just picked up Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, he's not what he was years ago, but they still picked him up. But
he should be a solid.
I think the Saints.
Two.
I think are. So I think the Saints are up there, up on top right now.
So Justin makes a great comment about balance, and you can't really argue with that. Like, the Cowboys have Ezekiel Elliott, and they run the ball, and because they can run the ball as well as they do, Dak Prescott can throw the ball. He normally has a lot of time, and he's normally got a lot of room to throw the ball. The Dallas Cowboys were technically the number one offense in all of football last year. Going into this season, all they did was add on to that offense. They added a wide receiver in the first round to get more weapons for what was already the best offense in football. All that said, I am going to have to take the Kansas City Chiefs, A, because I'm a homer,
Obviously.
B, because I love their draft pick, the number one pick, the 32nd pick in the draft, Edwards-Helaire. I think he fits this offense like a glove. It's like adding Jamal Charles in his prime to this offense, only this guy stays healthy. Patrick Mahomes, like I've said all show long, is the best quarterback in the National Football League. Throw in a likely Hall of Fame tight end in Travis Kelce. The fastest wide receiver in the football, Tyreek Hill. And then you have a coach that's just innovative, completely innovative. One thing that I think may hold the Cowboys back this year is their coaching change. McCarthy's going to keep the offensive system and the offensive coordinator, but McCarthy is not, in his latter years in Green Bay, was not exactly a risk-taking coach. So I think the Cowboys might come down a click, and I also expect the Chiefs to get better. And out of all those weapons, I didn't even mention Sammy Watkins or the emerging McCole Hardman, who should see a more significant role in offense this year that is more speed to what's already an electric offense. I don't know that anyone can guard all those skill players in Kansas City, so I think, especially with the addition of this running back, the Kansas City Chiefs should be the best, most explosive offense in the NFL this upcoming season.
We'll see. I mean, I like but I got to see the balance when it comes to the running back situation right now. You can't knock anything dealing with their passing situation, obviously, with the quarterback and the spread. We just got to see how they're going to integrate the running situation as of right now. Is he going to be more Westbrook, or is he going to be more ground and pound? So
I hope he's better than Westbrook. I like Westbrook. He was great for what he was. I hope he's better, because if we get anything better than if we get Westbrook in this offense, it's just going to be hard to stop. And no one in the AFC West is trying to stop it. What they're trying to do is get faster to run up the score with the Chiefs. So you don't stop me, I don't stop you. Whoever has the ball last wins, I guess. I'm down with that. Justin, you got through a whole show, didn't even mention Ben Roethlisberger or the Pittsburgh Steelers. What's going on?
Well, right now, Ben is they're talking about his weight loss, but it's progressive. Again, like I was stated before, until we can get him on a field and actually go over some drills, I'm not saying jack about Ben because we just don't know what we're expecting with him. A lot of people are like, well, he's going to be back full blast. Yeah, he could be. And I hope he is, because we don't have a plan B. Right now, we still have the same two guys that were there last year, this year, except for we did add former Ohio State quarterback J.T. Barrett. He is in our training camp right now, but Barrett's kind of small. So we're going to see what's going on with Ben. There's actually a news conference on Friday that Ben wants to talk about what's been going on with him. So I'll keep you posted on that to see what's going on in Steel City.
Nothing like just what's going on with our quarterback coming off a major elbow surgery. Joe, what about your Texans?
But we talked about that. So
yeah.
I can't say anything else about them until we actually see him. He's been hiding.
Joe, what about your Texans?
I don't know what to say about them right now. They do what they did in the draft, and just wait and see what happens. So there's not much to talk about them right now.
I will say this: Russ Blackstock was down the second round draft pick from TCU, the local kid. He was down at the complex working out. They got highlights of him working outside of NRG. They didn't let him in. But, I mean, that's showing progress if he's willing to work out. He's ready. He'll be ready.
Yeah.
I mean, all of them should be.
Sure.
I mean, they're technically supposed to be in like this virtual camp stuff right now. So they all should be getting some work in and being in their playbooks. I'm really disappointed, Joe. Like, you don't seem very enthusiastic about this Texans team.
Yeah, you're right. I'm really not.
Bro, you gotta have.
I mean, I'm not the only person. Here's the thing. It's okay to be a fan. Because some people say, well, if you're a fan, be optimistic. But it's okay to be a fan and then not be optimistic. So, sometimes you just gotta face reality and realize you see everything that's been happening this offseason. I mean,
well,
but we'll see what happens. Obviously,
that's real.
Listen, I know you got rid of the best wide receiver, and I mean, who you believe is the best wide receiver in football, but you still should get more production out of the two players you got to replace him. Not David Johnson. Not talking about him. I'm talking about Cooks and Randall Cobb.
Yeah, you're talking about Cooks and Randall Cobb.
Yeah, like you should get more production. Theoretically, you should have more production with the both of them than you would one DeAndre Hopkins. And you get.
I love how you said the word theoretically.
Hey, I'm not stupid.
Yeah, we know why you're saying theoretically.
I'm not stupid. But I got to give Texas fans a reason to hope. It's May. Like, we're not even in camp yet, and you have no hope going into a season. Like, this is a team
Which
that
makes it worse.
Well, Watson has no hope. I mean, so if your quarterback don't have hope, how should the fans have hope? I'm just saying.
Wow.
This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
I'm listen, I love it. I love how you are stuck to your position and you believe that it's over. This is a team that without the biggest choke job that I've ever seen would have been in the AFC Championship game, and I can't believe that the loss of really two players, DJ Reader, that's a huge loss that we don't give enough impact to.
Nobody talks about that though.
Yeah,
that was a big loss.
That's a huge loss. I mean, we liked the draft pick, but Reader was a proven commodity in this league.
Absolutely.
And DeAndre Hopkins, I just don't see how you get all the way down to this point before the season starts. Tennessee, I don't think is that good.
Can I say this also? They interviewed J.J. Watt, and he wasn't even thrilled that they traded Steve Howe.
Yeah.
Bro, what the hell?
It's not a lot of
and he's the company guy. He's like, we'll still be optimistic no matter what. As the company guy, like when they lost Andre Johnson, he still was the company guy. It's like, well, he was a great player, but we still got to move on. He didn't say that when they lost D-Hop. He was like, man, that was an eye-opener, and that's above my pay grade. That's telling you in layman's terms, like, this wasn't a good idea. You guys fucked up on this one.
It may not be popular in the locker room, but let's see how it works on the field. I'll go back to what I said last week, and I think we're going to have to keep reminding people that a lot of everything is going to depend on if these guys get in camp. I'm going to say this until it's picked up. Like, chemistry is everything in this league, and you don't learn on the fly in week 8. So we
exactly
like you that don't happen. So camp is huge. Camp is important. So all these great offenses. The good news about a lot of the offenses that we ranked is they're coming back. The one really overhaul is Tampa Bay because they changed the main piece of their offense. So those 5 teams that we talked about as top offenses, they should be fine. The Texans they're going to have problems if there's no camp because Randall Cobb and what's the other guy I said earlier, Brandon Cooks. They're not having the opportunity to get to know Deshaun Watson, build that chemistry, figure out exactly when they break on their hitches, get their timing on their slants. All that needs to take place in the camp, and we got to make sure that we can have a camp before we start evaluating like these moves that the Texans made. Hell, even the running back, he could have a breakout season. He's had 2 years off.
Well, I'll say this. You know, we talk about the schedule coming out. You know, we're gonna see all the games for all 32 teams tomorrow, and you know when that comes out, you know we start dissecting it. So, you know, whoever the Texans play those first 4 games, you know, if they go like 0-4 or 1-3, you know, people is get like, like, see, I told you so. So that's you know, I'm just interested about what's coming out to see how the first 3 games will look. First half of the season will look.
I'm just saying the season doesn't really start until you start planning your division.
There's the other issue too. When they traded D-Hop, he went down to Arizona. He actually worked out a couple.
He's ready
with money.
He's ready.
Right. Cooks was after COVID and everything hit. So. Yeah, so he hasn't had a chance to, wherever Cooks lives currently, he hasn't had a chance to work out with Watson on a regular. I mean, they can go to a field. I mean, you see Des Bryant doing it all the time, his YouTube channel and Facebook and Instagram and every other damn platform Des is on, working out with somebody. But Murray, Fitzgerald, and D-Hop have been working together prior to COVID, you know, shutting down all of America and had most all of the world. So I'm saying, they got a little bit better advantage. The only thing is, in this division, the only quarterback that really has had an advantage to work out with his teammates is Ryan Tannehill, because Phillip hasn't really. And we don't know, I guess we're going to say Gunnar Minshew in Jacksonville. Yeah, right. Anyways.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I mean, let's just be keeping it real. The Texans have that advantage, but dude, come on, chemistry is key, and you bring in a new running back. So the running back that's used to Deshaun may have a different running style than the prior running back, Carlos Hyde, who was only there for a year.
Yeah, like the running back position.
The running back.
You see, KC, Justin's kind of proving my point about my optimism there.
Well,
I'm just saying it's
like
May.
Chemistry. Yeah, but you're looking at it when it comes because of this pandemic. You're looking at the intangibles, because I really do think once this lifts, and if the NFL even does no fans, they're going to rush the season in. They're not going to have that much of a training camp. I'm really thinking there is, because all the OTAs is done. There hasn't been an OTA yet. Right now, the draft OTAs would have been this week. It's not happening.
I'm just saying it's
so
May.
There's no OTA.
And y'all treating this team like they're the Bungles. That's what I'm saying.
I'm not treating it like the
Bungles.
Bungles.
Joel, you have no optimism going into a season, and it's May. It's May. You got to have – this team was in the divisional round. They had the Super Bowl champions down. It's May. You got to have some hope. They don't lose that much. Carlos Hyde isn't –
If there's some optimism, is that the Texans play in the AFC South, and the AFC South is wide open.
Yeah,
AFC South. I mean, surprisingly, 2 teams came out at that division for the playoffs last year, but it's still a wide open division. So, I have a little optimism about the division, but that's about it.
I'm just saying it's May. I don't know how you give up this early. This isn't the Bengals. Hell, even the Bengals fans have optimism this time of year, especially with Joe Burrow in the house. Like, you gotta have.
Burrow. Yeah, because Joe Burrow.
But at the same time, you have one of the top young quarterbacks in the league who could take a massive step forward. Like,
I agree.
You never know. This guy is still developing, and he is already a good quarterback. So you got to have optimism.
Absolutely.
It's May. You can't be this down. You got to turn it around.
Every team, let's just be honest with you, every team, all 32 teams in the NFL have optimism in May.
Exactly.
But in reality, when you look at the optics, not looking at the fandom, there's a difference. When you look at the optics are showing that the Texans did not gain, they lost. And the fact of the matter is, if you watch the Texans in the playoffs last year, who saved their ass, not game 2, but game 1? D-Hop. So why would you get rid of, let's be realistic. The Bulls fans had optimism of the next season when they lost Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, and
really? Come on, bro.
Bill.
Omar,
they had optimism like we still could be good. So, a lot of people had optimism. My Steelers had optimism when we lost 10, but in reality, the optics aren't that good. If you're a real optics person, like what we're doing as being a podcast, you got to look at the reality of it all. They lost before they gained as a Texas.
Well,
so the optics is you could root for them and stand and do all that shit if you're
exactly.
But in the optics, if you're looking at it, you got to have chemistry. You got to have hope. Let's just be honest, Reg. When you see when Patrick Mahomes went down, now y'all got Matt Moore. Initially, the optics was okay, all right. You didn't know what you expect, so you weren't as high on Matt Moore bringing y'all victories at first, but he did. This is different. You took away 2/3 of their team that they had last year that took them to the playoffs. You kept the quarterback, but you lost the wide receiver and you lost the running back. So I'm saying the optics aren't there as much. The Texans have to prove themselves more than any other team.
I got you on that, but the one thing you talked about was balance. And if you got to throw the ball 140 times to one guy, everybody knows what you're going to do. If you got to spread the ball around because you don't have that 140 reception guy anymore, theoretically you should be more balanced because no one can focus in on what you're doing. But all that's going to take growth from the quarterback position and Deshaun Watson. So it's this left to be seen. But I hate for anybody to be this far down, especially with, in my eyes, a top 10 quarterback in this league who's still getting better. But we'll have to talk about more Texans next week. Coming in on Saturday, we're going to talk a little NBA and Michael Jordan's The Last Dance. Until then, I'm Casey Reginald Jr.
Man, Justin Waters in the building.
This is Jay Swish, Joe Swisher in the house, signing off.
This is UnderDawg Sportz.
Over the last decade, now comes as a hybrid. From Honda.
Keith, it's pretty obvious if we